Hello, hello, my Let's Keep It Real people. I know you've been saying, Sandy, where have you been this summer? Well, I've been traveling. But when I came back, I'm like, who do I want to put on first? Well, a world traveler. But before I bring him on, let me tell you a little bit about Chris Donaldson. Chris didn't look like an Aboriginal adolescent. It's funny. As he set off from Belfast on his cafe racing Moto Guzzi, but it was the same motivation that drove him to set off on a journey of self-discovery, which we are all about here. But when the Iranian Revolution stopped the planned 10,000-mile motorcycle road trip to Australia, he ends high in the Andes 50-odd thousand miles later before returning to Belfast, where he is now. Going the wrong way, a coming-of-age road trip like no other. Chris is now riding to Australia on this, which he's back from, on the same bike 42 years after his first attempt. Chris, I was so pumped that you were going to be on this show. I was like, where's he going to be? Is he going to be in the middle of his journey? Is he going to be back? So thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Great to be here, Sandy.
Yeah. So how long have you been back from trip 2?
Well, trip 2 has been a stop-start event. I've been back about a month, and but I left about a year and a half ago because when I went away the first time, I was just finished my college student days, and I could disappear for a year and a half. But I now have a wife, children, and a job. So
those things, right?
Those things that everybody has, or I hope everybody has. So what I did, I went away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then parked the bike up, and then came home back to work for 2 or 3 months, and then went out again to the next leg. So we did about 6 legs altogether to get to Australia. So it took a while. It was a great way to achieve, sometimes you come against an obstacle which you think, I haven't got time to ride to Australia. Obviously, it's going to take me 3 or 4 months. But if you break it up over a year and a half, it's possible to do it.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I'm so glad you did it that way, because so many people say, well, I can never do that now because of the family, the kids, the job, but you figured out a way to work. So before we go into anything more, I always ask everyone, if you could describe, I usually say, describe the past 30 days in one word. Why would you pick it and why? But I want to say, in one word, describe your past trip and why'd you pick that word?
Well, I guess it'll have to be completion, I suppose, because
okay.
I finally finished the journey I started 43 years ago. I actually went the right way instead of the wrong way.
Oh, I love that. Okay. All right. So we're going to dive into some of the questions right off, because my peeps were very curious about a lot of things. And one thing, they wanted to know how you felt if your wife, I don't know why they asked this, but let's say your wife wanted to go out on her own on the same similar journey without a partner. Would you feel good about it? Would you be feeling safe? Is it different? Or do you think, for a male versus a female?
You mean, is it safe for a male or a female to do a trip like that?
Yeah, by themselves. And how would you feel if your wife said, "Yeah, I want to go do this"? Now they didn't know that you broke it up. They didn't know you broke it up.
Yeah. I'd be worried. I mean, it's traveling through third world countries is not for the faint-hearted. On your own, there's times that you're at risk. You're putting yourself, in the firing line, literally, for different things. And without being chauvinistic or anything in any way, I would be more concerned in some of these countries as a woman than a man, just because these countries are pretty chauvinistic in their attitudes, some of them.
That's
a lot
true.
of them just don't like women traveling on their own. They just have the Middle East and Iran and Pakistan, countries like that. It's, I mean, you can do. I know girls have done it and they've had a great reaction. It's just something I suppose, I wouldn't want my wife to
Yeah, caution. Yeah, and I understand. I get it. So
it's just, it's been scary enough times for a bloke who's
yeah,
very streetwise, but yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted.
yeah. I'm thinking of, because my husband, who's always like, you'll be fine. He's completely opposite. I went to Thailand for a speaking engagement, and I decided on my own I was going to take a journey and stay there 10 days. And everybody's like, are you sure you don't speak the language? You want to go by yourself? I'm like, yeah. And I said to my husband, are you concerned at all that I'm here by myself? They're like, like the people at the conference said, don't go by yourself. Don't go that way. Come with us. You shouldn't be by yourself. And my husband's like, she'll be fine. She'll meet great people. And I did, but they were scaring the hell out of me. Like, you should be doing that on your own. But
I mean, there was one day I was trying to find a hotel in Tehran. I just arrived in Iran, and I couldn't speak the language. Obviously, there's no hotels I could find because there's not a big tourist industry there, as you can imagine. So I stopped in the gas station, asked some guys directions for a hotel, and one of them said, follow me. So I followed him in his car, ended up in this back street, and he stopped in a dark night. Then another car pulled up, and these two big burly guys jumped out. I thought, oh, really screwed it this time. I should know better than to leave myself in this sort of position. I was getting ready to hit starter, and a guy came over and he said, oh, I brought my brother because he could speak English. And he was able to, they wanted me to come home with him, but they wanted me to stay the night with them. But I said, no, just show me the hotel. And he was able to take me to the hotel. So cases like that, you're always, you got your senses up, but usually it works out fine.
Yeah, usually. That's such a good story, but you were scared too. You were getting ready to take it off, and here the guy's trying to help you, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So you, though, this time, I don't know if you did it, because now that I know you broke up the journey and it took a year and a half, which is incredible. That shows people, if you want to do something, it may not be the same thing you did 42 years ago, but there's a way to do it. But am I correct that you took with you your buddy Liam, or only on parts of the journey?
Yeah, well, Liam, as I say, it's sort of trips not for faint-hearted. We went to Athens, from the UK to Athens, first of all. Left the bags there, and then went to Israel to try and follow. That's where I went the first time. I wanted to try and go from Israel into Jordan and then through Saudi, because Saudi Arabia is just opening up for tourism. But we couldn't get over the border. Iran or Israel and Jordan border was, just wouldn't let us through for some reason without going into it. So we had to backtrack to Athens, and I think at that stage Liam just realized, well, this is just leaving Europe. What's it going to be like in these other countries, and decided it wasn't for him. So he came home on his own, which I was
whoa, hold on. He's like, yeah, I don't know what you're thinking about. I'm headed back.
Pretty much. So yeah, I was a bit peeved because it was his idea about the whole bloody thing in the first place.
So but he didn't know what he was getting himself into, because he hadn't. Right.
No, he hadn't been there, but he hadn't been out of Europe much before. So something probably should have.
Were you like, oh my God?
Well, I had to talk me into it. One of my sort of worries, I guess, was at 65 now I'm, not as fit as it was when I was 21, and am I safe on the same motorbike as 45 years old now as well? So I had to have second thoughts, and did I really want to finish this trip that I didn't really want to start in the first place?
Yeah, he convinced you to take it, and now he's like, wait a minute. Yeah,
I don't want to do it. So he came on home. So
that's the best. All right. So then what happened?
Well, one of the problems, I guess, at that stage is we couldn't go through Jordan and Saudi, which was quite a short journey over land.
Yeah.
It was about 1,000 miles. So I had to go through Turkey and Iran.
So you did. You went on by yourself.
Yeah.
You pick up another friend, call somebody
else.
No,
I just, Norman, no mates. I went on my own. Which is actually by far the best way to travel. And if you're doing a journey like this, is to go on your own, because although the risks are greater and you're on your own, it's more difficult. The rewards are much greater as well because you meet
It's
many
true.
more people, and
It's true.
you have to get out and do it. It's much more of a challenge for yourself as well. So it worked out well in the end. If I'd fallen off and wrecked myself, I wouldn't be saying that. I'd be cursing him up and
Hey, wait a
down.
minute. I have so many questions. I know we only have so much time. So let's stay there for a minute. Liam said, what were you thinking? I didn't think this through. I'm heading home. Did you tell your family? And were they like, come home, or were they like, no, keep going?
Well, we did come home at that, so we left the bikes in Athens. I left my bike in Athens, and he rode his home. So that was another leg, if you like. That was our second
Yeah.
leg. We
Yeah.
finished. So I came home for 3 months at that stage. That was last Christmas. Just after COVID, the year before that, sorry. It sort of got COVID has really sort of messed up everything. Is sort of everything's time is all jumbled up with things
For everyone. Yeah.
for everybody. But so I was coming home anyway at that stage for 3 months for Christmas, and breaking the
Yeah.
journey then. And then he decided he wasn't going to go back out again. So I went out on my own in March and continued on.
And your family was cool with that? They didn't care, like, go for it?
My wife was a bit concerned, certainly, that it was whether I would be up to it. I had to persuade her that I was up to go with somebody else. So then when I came home and said, well, I think I should go on my own.
Mm.
I'm not the sort of guy to be put off things too lightly. She was happy enough I was able to talk her around. She's very accommodating. Maybe she just doesn't like me that much. Yeah, go on. I like.
I enjoy the break.
You come back, you know.
If not, there's other fish in the sea.
Yeah.
But do you have kids? Are they old? Like you said, you mentioned children.
Yeah, I have two girls. One's 25 at university and one's 15 at school.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I wanted to get back for them too. But Iran, it was a difficult decision because Iran was the country that stopped me going to Australia the first time.
Yeah.
It's obviously got a bit of an aura about it for most Western countries. In fact, I think it's very difficult for an American or British citizen to get in, even to get a visa.
I have no
one of the
desire.
few-
Yeah.
One of the few good things about living in Northern Ireland is we have an Irish passport and a British passport. So I was able to travel with my Irish passport. But it was still a concern, obviously, going through with all the stories going on for the last 40 odd years. But ironically, of all the countries I was in, it was probably the nicest country to drive through, because people are so friendly and happy, so positive and friendly, happy to see Westerners coming through. You sort of forget that the average population, well, most people in Iran are less than 40, so they have no memory of the American embassy hostage situation and all the hassle around then. So they don't know. That's all stuff their parents did. They have no interest in it. They're just wanting to get out and enjoy life themselves, and if they see Westerners coming through as return to normal times, So but they were very hospitable, very generous, very
So nice to
easygoing.
hear.
So
nice.
very often the places that you're most concerned about are actually the easiest ones,
Yeah. So did you journal about this? I mean, I know you've written books, but while you're on your way, are you like stopping every night and writing in your journal?
Time 9, 21. I just started writing a book at that stage and keeping a note of. Actually, started writing manuscript at one stage, at that stage. But when I got back, somebody else had written a book. A guy called Ted Simon wrote Jupiter's Travels, which is one of the first stories about riding a motorbike around the world. And he was a journalist, he was an author, he did a very good job. I thought I was a 22-year-old student who couldn't spell without spell checker. Spell checker hadn't been invented then. So I sort of gave up. And then 4 years ago, I took my papers out and decided to finish the job and write the book, which is going the wrong way, which is
Love the title. I love it. I love it.
well, it's sort of, as I say, it's not just a book, it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
As well, which is realize it's what I've done a lot of my life, through various experiences. So yeah, it's quite a challenge writing a book. I'm not the sort of guy who you would have thought could write a book. My teachers at school, if they're still about, would be amazed. But as I say, without spell checker, nothing would have been possible.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
But yeah, the book went really well, and it's on Amazon selling steady. And as I say, Liam said to me, "Well, you never actually got to Australia last time. You ended up in South America, in Argentina, of all places."
Yeah.
So why not have another go? So that's how it all came about.
Oh. So Liam is the one that reminded you that you never really got to go where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so he would do it with you.
Yeah. So he decided to come with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. Now now that everything worked out fine, is Liam sad that he didn't finish it with you?
I'm still good to have that conversation over a couple of beers. I think he will be. Yes, I think he will be. No, we're still good friends.
All right.
Um,
I'm sure you are. I'm sure. All right. I need to ask you about, well, there's a lot of different pieces of your journey that seem fascinating to me, but I want to know about the yacht race.
yes.
They hitchhiked with somebody. I don't know if it was from Cape Town or something, but somehow you got on a yacht to Europe. Is that true, or am I making that all up?
Yeah. Well, the problems were, say, I left to go to Asia, to go to Australia, and had all my visas and all my guidebooks and maps for crossing Asia to go to India. And then when the embassy got taken over in Iran, I decided to go to Africa, and I had no knowledge about anything. I had no visas, no idea what was ahead of me. And those days you couldn't just Google it. You had to find some information, or somebody had been there before. So I drove down through Africa I actually drove off the edge of my map at one stage, coming through Sudan. I had to find somebody coming the other way, a map that he could give me. We could swap maps so we could know where we were going next. So it was a bit chaotic. I got to Cape Town in the middle of apartheid, so there was no tourism going on there. Very few flights in and out. But there was a yacht race stopped to get replenished, and the guy hurt his leg, so I got his place on the yacht. And it was even like I don't know if you've heard of the Volvo Ocean Race. It's a big international yacht race, goes around the world every 3 or 4 years. But it's a sort of Formula One of yachting, really. It's quite a prestigious event. You have to train for years to get involved and so on. But so at that stage, 40 years ago, it was in its infancy. So we were able to just land on a boat. And I'd done a bit of dinghy sailing, and he said, "Where you
go?" So wait a minute. You had to work. You weren't just like lying out while they were racing. You had to participate.
Oh, I had to participate. I had to learn how to race the yacht, how to sail. So
yeah, I'm thinking you were just like hanging out. Yeah, no, you had to participate.
I participated. Probably the actual sailing wasn't a difficult part as much as the fact that I'd been traveling for 6 months on my own, making all my own decisions, deciding whatever I wanted to do. Whereas in a yacht, you're in a very small, confined space for 5 weeks with 7 other blokes. So it was very, very much a culture shock.
So how long was that trip? Like, how long were you on the yacht?
Well, that took 5 weeks to get back to Europe from Cape Town, because our rudder fell off halfway along the middle of the Atlantic, and we had to stop and get that welded up. So we didn't win the race. We did get a prize for seamanship, because we managed to steer the boat without a rudder for 3 or 4 days to get back to port. So it was quite an adventure as well, just thrown in.
An award for determination and grit. All right, let's back up. So it's 1979 and you decide to do this. And I know you've been asked a lot why, but my people really want to know, how did you get so adventurous? How did you get so fearful? Like, even back then, that was huge to go out and do this. What was it like? Were you always that way as a kid?
Stupid.
No, stupid. I would like to refrain it as adventurous. You know?
Probably a bit of that. Well,
Fearless.
I know, I mean, I was brought up in Belfast in the 70s, which was a pretty dodgy place to be with the troubles and so on going on.
Yeah.
My father's business got blown up. It was a furniture shop and it got blown up dozens of times. There would be army in the streets, bombs going, you could see bombs going off from their school windows. So I suppose it was probably health and safety wasn't the biggest sort of number one thing going on in those days.
So it didn't matter where you went, it may be better.
Well, it's one of the reasons I wanted to get out of Northern Ireland, was to see some of the world that wasn't like that and to learn what was going on. I don't think I actually thought that at that stage, because when you're a kid, you don't know anything before that, and you don't know anything in the future. You've only got what you've been at the first sort of 20 years of your life to go for. And the first 15, you're told what to do all the time anyway. So it's only the last, you don't have that much experience in the ways of the world. So, but it wasn't innocent abroad. It was just something that got in my head. It sort of got things in my head, and I want to do it, and I sort of can't help myself but go in that direction, you know.
You're stubborn.
Stubborn, so stupid and stubborn. Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay, but what about your family? What did they think of it? Were they happy for you? Were they like, you're not going? Like, you're like, you can't tell me, you know?
No, my mother wasn't happy at all, as you can imagine. She said she'd give me a car if I sold a motorbike and things like that. But we used to travel a bit around Europe the odd time when we were kids, with the family, caravan holidays and stuff like that. So they'd probably given us a sense of adventure, which they probably regretted later on, you know. But so the world was a different place then too. It was, you know, nowadays you can phone home, you've got a mobile phone, you can WhatsApp, you can get in touch with anybody no matter where you are, anytime. But then it was sort of every 3 months, maybe find a phone box in the post office that we had to book a phone call and come in. It cost, I remember calling back from Cairo, I think it cost about £5, which is probably about 50 quid, $50 for a 5-minute phone call in those days, you know. So they didn't know where I was for a long time. I don't know if they really cared.
Stop that. This is bad. My wife didn't care. My
Everybody seems happy when they go away.
I don't think so. I think they just had to relinquish the fact you were going to go. So now what? Right. So now what do we do? Okay. So you have so many places that you've been, and I want to highlight just 3. What place, I know you mentioned Iran, but what place brought you the most joy? You were like, there's no better place to live. I'm moving here. Like, this is awesome.
Probably Australia 43 years later, I have to say. I really enjoyed it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed got a great reception, great welcome after all the time, and met a lot of people, and thought it was a wonderful country.
Yeah. They like to have fun, Australians. They love to have fun. So that was recent, and you're like, oh, I could live here. I could move here. Yeah,
and it does make me wonder, you know, obviously I'm sort of heading to retirement now, and emigrating would be a bigger, much different event than if it had been 21 if I'd got there the first time. I do wonder what way my life would have changed, would have stayed, you know, and you could even dissect that further. If I'd left 2 or 3 weeks earlier, as I was supposed to, I would have got through Iran before the revolution started, and maybe my whole life would have been talking with an Australian accent instead of a Northern Ireland accent now, you know.
Hanging out with kangaroos. Well, I have friends that just moved there last month from California, one group of friends, and another one was from Ontario, Canada, and they love it. Yeah. They love it.
No, it's a wonderful country and nice lifestyle. And as you say, the people are always good fun anyway as well.
Yeah, they're fun. Okay. Where were you like, yeah, I gotta just fly on through here. I don't like this area for the people.
Um, Probably Colombia in the 80s.
Oh,
Flew into Medellin from Panama in a no DC-6. I was one of the most nervous, even coming from Belfast. It was a very, I mean, Pablo Escobar obviously was at his height at that stage, sort of early 80s. And Medellin was where all was the center, ground zero of the cocaine world. But of course, I had no idea of anything like that because Netflix wasn't on in those days. So history lessons hadn't started. So yeah, but it was just knew there was such an atmosphere of distrust, and every corner there was a guy with a gun. I couldn't wait to get out of that country. Whereas I believe now it's a wonderful place to travel. You know, it's
okay.
really beautiful, nice people, all the rest of it. So things can change.
Yeah. So would that be your scariest trip then, that you were really scared?
No, I was probably most of the way down Africa, to be honest.
Mm.
Sudan, Uganda, Zambia. Got arrested a few times and picked up.
For
It's just been a white guy on a motorbike, I guess, most of the time. Looking like you have money, you know. Let's see. What do
he
you get out of
looks
this guy?
suspicious. Yes.
Yes. You're not here for the weather, you know. What are you doing here?
Yeah. And how'd you get out? I mean, how long did they keep you?
Oh, just a few hours generally. No, the Sudan wasn't just the constabulary, the army and so on. It was also the roads were very tough, and as much as sometimes there wasn't any roads. And
Mm.
without getting into motorbikes, my motorbike was designed for traveling on fast Italian motorways, not for dirt roads and deserts.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was tricky from a mechanical point of view, and you know, sometimes you'd only cover 10 or 20 miles in a day's driving because the roads are so bad. The heat, it
Yeah. Yeah.
was
I never
hard
thought of that.
going.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, you're by yourself on the first trip, right? There was no Liam backing out. There was no anybody, right? You just wanted to go by yourself.
Yeah.
And your friends at the time, did anybody want to come with you, or did they think you're a whack job?
Um, I probably thought it was a whack job because most of my friends haven't done anything much like that since. And whenever you come home from a trip like that, people ask you, how do you get on? What have you been doing? Where did you go? Sort of questions you're asking. But it is difficult to, I can understand more now. It's difficult to comprehend what a journey like that is for if you haven't actually done it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you imagine it's like a long holiday or it's like a work trip or whatever, but it is because it's so far away from anything that most people have done in their lives. Not saying good or bad about that, just it's so far away of what you know. It's you just say, why would you want to do it?
Yeah. It's hard to comprehend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
for
don't
I
know.
can totally understand why you did it. I can, and I've not gone that long, but I think about it when my son is leaving for college in August and I'll be an empty nester. My husband's like, are you going to just leave me and go around the world and talk to people? I go, maybe. But maybe I'll do it in jokes. Like I'll go, okay, I'll just find a place I want to do a speaking engagement, stay there a month and come back.
Yeah,
Right?
why not?
That
You can
way,
do it by podcast anyway.
interview people in person. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. So do you speak any other languages? Please say yes.
I learned French in school very badly,
Oh,
as I learned most things
Spanish?
in school very badly. But I did get, but I entered Mexico with, I think, Dos Cerveza was the most I could say. But by the time I got to Argentina, I could handle a few words in Spanish
Oh,
okay. But it was a
oh,
bit of Africa wasn't so bad because all the countries are ex-British colonies. English is quite widely spoken there, but obviously South America, Central America, not so
Okay.
much. But that was
I
a
thought
bit
you
of
were
a
gonna say, I speak
baptism of
6
fire.
languages, I can speak, because I'm not very good at language. I can just, boy, I can't hear the dialect. Like it's just not my thing. So now you don't have to worry about it. You know what I did? I just pushed it on my phone and it translates for you now.
But you Google Translate, yeah. I mean, it's so much easier, but it still makes it a difficult conversation too if you're, having to Google Translate every time. But it's getting there. It's amazing what AI has done.
Better than nothing, though. Okay. So on this trip, not back in the 1979, what was the scariest thing for you?
I didn't have too
Liam
many.
quit it. Poor Liam.
Yeah, I didn't have too many scary trips. Whether I've just got more used to crazy things happening, but
So there wasn't any time that you were scared, like, oh, I don't know if I'm getting out of this one.
well, I did have trouble getting out of Iran, but that was more to do with paperwork. The first border I couldn't get across because they wouldn't let a motorbike cross, and then I went to the next border crossing, and they said you can't get across because they won't take members of the public across. They only take vehicles, commercial. So at this stage, I was starting to think Liam was right. Well, it was hard for somebody else to get third time lucky, but no. I think I've planned things. I knew what was going on, and it's a lot easier to travel now than it was 40 years ago. We've got, as I say, so much information now at your fingertips. You're never really out of touch.
Yeah,
with
you're right.
internet everywhere.
A lot different.
The world is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I didn't think of that. You're right. Because you could just pick up your cell phone and say, yeah, my brake broke down. Like, I'm here.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, you're still gonna have trouble getting out. Customs, all sorts of difficulties in places. But yeah, it's a lot less scary than it was when you're stuck somewhere. Nobody knows where you are. If you did disappear, well, they wouldn't know where to start looking for you anyway.
But again, you said they wouldn't miss you, right? So what does that?
So that would never Who cares?
Maybe your kids would. All right. So I have some questions from my foodies. First of all, do you love food? Are you a foodie? Because you went to so many different countries. Don't say you just eat meat and potatoes. Fish and chips, that's it.
Food's, it's never been a huge. I'm from Ireland, so more of a drinker than a food eater,
So you didn't care about all the different foods? Because I would love to try all these foods in so many countries. Like I would just want to eat whatever they had.
Well, in these countries, you go to India, you think of the Indians. America has great Indian restaurants, but in the UK we do. And you go to India, you think, oh, I'm going to have really good Indian food. It's like the UK, only better. But actually, the food they eat, which over there is sort of made in potatoes. They don't generally have the same sort of quality of meats, quality of foods that we would have in the West. It's very often Indian food. I don't think I had a good Indian meal in India. You get a better.
Well, you didn't have a good Indian meal.
You get a better Indian food in Birmingham and
yeah, in Philadelphia. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
By the way, we do have great Indian food.
The other problem is very often, you're.
That's sad.
You're traveling in a first time I was traveling very, very poor means. I was away for a year and a half and only banked for going away for 3 months. So I was sort of living on the breadline, literally. This time with a bit more money, but still living in sort of not dodgy hotels, but 3-star hotels without the sort of
youth hostels. Well, the kids.
Youth hostels, yeah, not quite youth hostels, but the next steps up. So you weren't getting huge culinary feasts in front of you. In fact, it seemed to be, I think when you can't speak the language, you get a menu down in front of you, no idea what you're going to get.
That's true.
I would use the only thing the only sort of common meat was chicken kebab half the time. So I ended up as chicken kebab more nights than I want to remember ever.
Yeah.
But no, it's not a great trip for food. If you want to take good food, could take a cruise ship or something like that.
I'm stuck now.
Don't go on a motorbike.
I've never been on a cruise ship in my life. Have you?
No, I have no
No.
intention of it either.
I don't think it's my thing. I don't know. I like to go when I want to go. Too many people.
Yeah.
I get you. I'm gonna say it just blew my mind that you didn't have great Indian food in India. Like it's making me sad, But I don't think that's true because there are places like I remember when I was in Thailand, I got great street food and it was the best food I ever ate for like $1.50, So
You don't eat street food in India.
okay.
There's a
Or
there's
drink the water. I
a,
got it. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a term called Delhi belly, which I don't know what the American
Yeah.
phrase of that is, but
And
enough said.
I do want to go to India, but is it really like, are there so many parts of it that's just really sad? Like makes you sad?
It's a fascinating country. I mean, I think there was last week, they just launched a space rocket to go to the moon. But yeah, you're driving down the freeway, you're driving down the roads, and there's plastic tents the side of the road, plastic.
Yeah.
There's underneath the bridges, just thousands of people living from day to day, living in the streets. I mean, you get that everywhere to an extent, but the poverty in India is quite not just widespread, but very much accepted. That
Oh, okay.
that's part of they have a type of person they just live in the streets, so it's a part of their society that's the way they
Yeah,
get
part of
on,
the culture is just accepted that
Yeah.
that's just how they get
So
by.
it is, yeah.
And are people constantly coming up to you and asking for money, or they don't do that?
In India, they did that quite a bit. I didn't have much trouble with that anywhere else, but in India, as I say, there's just so many people
Yeah.
everywhere you stop. A lot of countries very. India was a bit disappointed actually at the start of it because it wasn't the India that I expected with thatched cottages and sort of the rural sort of thing you'd imagine, but it's just a lot of concrete buildings, a lot of high rises going up in the cities, but a lot of poverty and a lot of dirt and
Yeah.
things you don't want to see as well. But there's parts of it are beautiful, fantastic, old world.
And you didn't get sick eating the food, right? Because I have so many friends that got sick.
I got sick as soon as I crossed the border.
Oh.
I didn't think I even need to eat the food. I just had to breathe the air. I hadn't been sick my whole time. I'm giving India a hard time here, which I shouldn't be because I really enjoyed it. But as soon as I crossed the border,
You didn't give him a hard time. I get it.
I called the Indian dad. If you want to lose weight, go to India.
God. All right. So you know where I want to go this year? I want to go to Dubai. You went to Dubai, right?
Yeah, well, I lived in Dubai for 8 years until years ago. Just came back. After the property crash in the UK, I sort of found myself without any work and without any job, and it was a legal case to take up against the bank for screwing me over. So I went out to Dubai and lived there for 7 or 8 years.
I did not know. How old were you when you did that?
50, 52, 50, something like that.
Okay.
Were
you with your family or did you go alone for 8 years?
Yeah, no, we took a family out, and ironically, one of the things I learned when I was traveling first time and I was learning how to sail came in handy because the rents in Dubai are horrendous. It's like New York or London. So I actually was able to buy a boat, buy a yacht, and live in that for 6 years for the price of 2 years rent of an average flat. And then was able to sell the boat again at the end of whenever we left. So just the first journey taught me a lot of things, so from a practical point of view, and also from independence and mentally. But learning how to sail was something I was able to use to my benefit and live in a boat.
So I have a lot of business acquaintances, female, over in Dubai. And so they want me to come over and do a speaking gig. And they love it over there. They said it's really great for women in business. They've done very well over
Yeah,
there.
no, it's a great place for business. They've really opened it up and designed the city as a business hub. And have taken a lot of business out of Africa and out of the rest of the Middle East, because the rest of the Middle East, those countries are so chaotic. And there's no the laws, the laws who you know, not what you know, or whereas they've set rules and regulations. So it's a great hub for business.
Yeah. So why'd you decide to come back then and not stay there on your boat?
My daughter was wanting to go back to school here, and I suppose I got itchy feet, 7-year itch. Been there for 7 years. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time. But it was time to move on again.
Yeah. So you mentioned
you
you come back for your family and your job. What do you do full time for a living?
Well, I've done a number of jobs over the years, but my main core job was in property, which fell apart during the property crash here. The bank basically stole my business, closed my business down. So I spent 4 or 5 years self-litigating against them, and eventually got the properties back. So I thought I'd better come back, and I'd fallen into state of disrepair. So another reason was to come back and get the business started again here. But I've done different things. I've run a fitness franchise, a ladies' fitness franchise for a number of years. Sold mobile apps in Dubai.
Wait a minute.
So
you run you still have it, or no longer?
No, no longer. It was until about 10 years ago as well. But I've always been involved in selling something, selling property, selling business, selling fitness, selling myself, whatever. It's if you can sell one thing, you can sell anything, really. You should be able to,
Yeah. I didn't know you were in the fitness. I mean, I don't know if you know this, I owned health clubs my whole life over here.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were like in the fitness business. Well, ladies fitness business. Now, wait, you said it was in Dubai, or?
No, it was in the UK. It's called Ladies Workout Express. I don't know if they're still going in the States or not. It was a bit like Curves, was the big name on it.
Oh, yeah, I remember Curves. Yeah.
I don't know if they're still going, are they?
I don't know. Not my cup of tea, but yeah.
Fad at one stage, everybody wanted it. So yeah, with about 21 franchisees in the UK and Ireland. And then whenever the property crash hit, a lot of people cancelled their memberships and so on. Fitness gym memberships, things get tight. Gym memberships, something that people have to really give up going to the pub every weekend,
Yeah.
So
how do they work out now? Like, are the gyms going strong?
Well, those are franchises, so we just sold off the franchisees. And I think
but I mean, like right now over there, are they really into working out?
Yeah, gyms are really bounced back. Ladies' gyms have died a death. I don't think there's any of them going anymore, but fitness is a big industry now. They're still doing well. Fitness First. Don't know how many American gyms there are over here, but certainly fitness is as big as ever again,
Yeah. People are into health. The only reason I asked, because right before COVID, I got brought over to, I guess it was in Dublin, they were doing a health and wellness fair. And it seemed like everyone there was into working out. But the funny part is, I go in, I do my workshop, I come out, I think, okay, now we're going to have lunch. It's going to be really healthy. And they're all just going to the bars to drink beer.
Well, that's the balanced lifestyle that we have over here.
They said it's a balanced life, Sandy. It's about work out.
You go to the gym, and then it means you can go out for a good night out without having a bad conscience about it,
No, then you go for it was really funny. All right, so what are you going to do now? Do you already planning the next step, or is that it? Now, like, okay, I did what I needed to do. I'm good. I'm going to keep writing books.
Going the wrong way. Really, I hadn't realized the time, but it was a journey of and coming of age, whatever you want to say, coming of age trip. Learning it was the start of my education, start of my working life, and as just as it's happened, now 65, so I'm looking to. I never don't think I ever want to retire as such, because I think once you stop using your brain, using your as soon as you stop using your body, it just falls away,
I
So I
agree.
want to keep working to some extent, even if financially and for mental health. But one of the reasons I suppose I realized that I wanted to do this trip was a lot of friends are retiring and they've maybe had corporate jobs and running their own business, and the next day they're sort of looking after their garden and go playing golf twice a week, which to me is not what you spent 40 years working for, So it was one of the challenge myself to see if I could still do what I did when I was 21.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing it on the same motorbike was a bit ridiculous, I understand now, but I just wanted to make the challenge a little bit more difficult. But that's the bike's still in Melbourne in Australia, so I'll have to go. I'd like to go out in Australia again soon, and perhaps take it around the state, across the states, and finally take it around the world after all
Okay.
this time. Trying to complete the circle sort of thing.
So you're not done.
Oh God, no. So once you get
That's my
started, it's
friend.
hard to stop.
I'm just getting started. I'm not getting off the stage yet. I said, okay, there you go.
Definitely.
All right, Chris, this has been great. I'm so glad you shared with the Let's Keep It Real people. But before we go, tell us where they can find you. Where can they buy your book? Can they follow your travels? They want to know everything.
Yeah. Well, my website's chrisdonaldson.world. You can buy the book there and see what I'm up to. But the best place to probably buy the book is the company we love and hate, is Amazon.
Okay.
Taking over the world. So it's an audiobook, it's in Kindle, it's on paperback, hardback, and I'm on Facebook as well, Chris Donaldson. You'll find me there somewhere.
All right. Is there anything you want to tell the people that we didn't get in today, Chris?
I think we covered, there's lots of things I could say, but I think we covered the gist of it. I suppose if anything just to say, just if you're the age I am anyway, 65-ish, just don't stop trying, don't stop thinking of something different to do. I think
Yeah.
the best advice I can give anybody these days.
No, I think that's true, right? You don't have to just, and you can figure out a different way to do it. It may not be the same way. You might not be going on the same bike, or you may be, but you can still have fun doing it.
Exactly.
I think that's the best advice.
We're not done yet.
Yeah, you're not done yet, for sure. All right, my Let's Keep It Real people. Chris and I would really appreciate you sharing, liking it, and rating it. I promise you, I'll put this on all platforms. You can watch it wherever you want. And you know what I'm going to say. Until next time, toodles. Bye, Chris.
Bye.